Hare Krishna. So now we discuss chapter 3. If you see chapter 3, it's around 43 verses. The very first two verses, Arjun raises a question to Lord Krishna. Now, what is the essence of the question? Basically, he is telling that in second chapter, you taught us Buddhi Yoga, and Buddhi Yoga means something which has to do with intelligence, which has to do with cultivation of knowledge. That's how Arjun is perceiving it. And Lord Krishna is telling uh, at the conclusion that you engage in this war, which is his duty as a Kshatriya, as an administrator, as a state officer, as somebody who is supposed to work for the protection of the state, for the protection of the country. So you better fight. So Arjun is thinking, Arey, what is this? One side there is ghastly warfare where there's so much violence, bloodshed, and on one side there's cultivation of intelligence, knowledge, sitting in a classroom, studying scriptures. How do you reconcile? These are two different paths, apparently. Now, for Arjun, it is the war. For us, it can be our worldly duties. I will just simplify this. For somebody on the spiritual path, uh, most people in the neophyte or in the early stages of spiritual understanding, their understanding is spiritual duties are different, material duties are different. And they often have a challenge how to balance these two, how to give importance, due importance to each of them in our daily schedule, in our monthly schedule, in our whole life. So first two verses, in essence, is how to balance spirituality with something which is appearing so mundane. Two things: mundane duties, spiritual duties. And also another thing, when we come to spiritual life, we come looking for peace, and often there is a tendency that we want to give up our daily duties because our daily duties, let's say if somebody is working in an office, it involves a lot of stress, headache, anxiety. If somebody is working for the protection of the family, taking care of the family, that involves everyday anxiety, headache, stress. So somebody goes to a temple looking for peace, peace from all the office anxieties and home anxieties. Just an example. Or you're living in a society, in a building, to deal with all the relationships in the building. There could be anxiety on that level. There could be an anxiety of how you live with your relatives, how you deal with them. You have to go attend all the ceremonies, all the functions, all the sad events, all the happy events. So there could be stress there. So general tendency of coming to spirituality is I just want to forget all this. Therefore, sometimes in spirituality, people put some music, or some, maybe they want to listen to the waves of an ocean, a music like that, or some music they just want to forget the stress, which means the whole idea of spirituality is for some time forget your daily affairs. And following, extending the same thought process, one may think spirituality means just leaving all this and cultivating detachment. So just give up all family life, give up all social life, give up all the responsibilities, and just take sannyas or vairagya and live in the forest, or live in an ashram, or live in a temple, or live like a sadhu, or go to a holy place. So we justify our escapism. We want to escape our duties and justify escapism by taking shelter of spirituality. Is it right to do that? So now, first two verses, Arjun is raising question: spirituality or ghastly warfare? Both cannot be the same. Either this warfare where there's so much violence, stress, anxiety, or spirituality where there is peace. Now, should we give up our duties and take to spirituality? That brings us to text 3 to text 9, chapter 3. Text 3 to text 9, it says, or rather I would say text 3 to text 8. Systematically, Lord Krishna brings out one essential point, that you should not give up your material duties till you are sufficiently purified. So he brings out this conception of purification. And actually, Lord Krishna, if one of the purports you read, it is also explained in text 3 to text 8. Our daily duties are actually very important shelter for us. It helps us to engage our proclivities, because idle mind is devil's workshop. So one may think, oh, this spiritual life, going to a temple and just staying full time in a temple or some holy place or far away from the city would be so pleasing. You may stay there for 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, but then idle mind, devil's workshop, you will go crazy. So till the mind is sufficiently purified to have the strength to remain idle and away from social responsibilities, it is not safe to give up social responsibilities. Because one may give up thinking that I will go for peace, but while one is away from all responsibilities, one may land up doing improper, immoral activities because mind is idle. So that is text 3 to text 8. So then the question will come, okay, I cannot be idle mind. I have to engage in the social duties. But what about the spiritual goals to be achieved? How much time should I give it to them? So text 9, Yagyarthat karmano anyatra loko yam karma bandhana. It says, learn the art of connecting your daily work to spiritual goals. See, Bhagavad Gita in one chapter, we will not be able to explain you everything. Even in half an hour, we will not be able to explain you everything. We are giving a food for thought, a summary, which raises some questions in your mind, and then you come for discussion, and that makes things clear. But the whole idea in 3.9, which Lord Krishna is bringing out, connect your day-to-day work to spiritual sciences, to teachings of Lord Krishna. So that every work you do, whether it is taking care of your children, taking care of wife, your husband, your office, your mother, your father, your social responsibilities, your national responsibilities, every act you do, every time you go somewhere, you engage in some activity, that helps you to elevate on a spiritual platform also. So 3.9, Krishna recommends that combine the two. Make your work in itself spiritual, daily work. I also want to bring your attention to second chapter again. In second chapter, if you remember, there were 20 verses, 11 to 30th, which were telling in detail that how we are not the body but soul. But then 31 onwards, Krishna says, as long as you are in the body, you have a certain psychological needs. You need to engage yourself in a certain kind of action to feel happy because you are in a certain body. Although we are not the body, we are soul, but as long as we are in the body, we need to take care of bodily needs in terms of physical needs and in terms of emotional needs also, psychological needs also. So Krishna gives importance to both. But the very fact that he tells about spirit, soul, that we are souls and soul has a function to perform, one should look for moksha or freedom from the body. These points were mentioned. So if one has to look for moksha, freedom from the body, then the question will come, why to perform activities on the body? So now in first 9 verses, Krishna is making it very clear. Idle mind is devil's workshop. As long as you are in the body, you just can't escape from the bodily responsibilities. So therefore, learn how to connect everyday's work into spirituality. After mentioning this, then in 3.10 to 3.16, Lord Krishna brings out the concept of sacrifice or yajna. And in simple words, what is sacrifice? Somebody may feel sacrifice or yajna is like a fire sacrifice, a havan, where you invoke fire, Agni. And in Agni, you make some ahuti. कुछ उसमें आप oblations, कुछ आहुति डालते हैं, सामग्री डालते हैं. But no, that's a very narrow meaning of yajna. Yajna or sacrifice, in simple words, can also refer to prescribed duties. And what kind of prescribed duties everyone has? When we are living in this world, we are obliged to several sections of the society. One of the duties which we have is towards devatas. who control this cosmic universe, pura manifestation control karte hain. So they provide our daily needs. There is a devta of air, there is a devta of water, there is a devta of everything. Every smallest need, there is a devta. So we are supposed to do some duties towards those devatas. A simple thing, right? In a government, if you stay in a city, there are some taxes to be paid. Because if the government is doing something for us, then we are supposed to pay taxes. So similarly, this cosmic manifestation is run by a government, universal government. There are devatas there. We are obliged towards them. Then we have, so basically 5 duties are there. So we have towards devatas. Then we have duties towards our teachers who teach us so many different things in our schools, in our colleges, spiritual sciences. So many teachers teach us many things. So we have duties towards them. Then third thing is we have duties towards our ancestors, which can be our elders living with us and even our ancestors who have left this world. We have some duties towards them. Then the fourth thing is we have duties towards mankind in general, humankind. You see, so many human, we are living in a human society, we are always obliged to fulfill our needs to them. Because we live in harmony with each other, we depend on each other, so that dependence also creates obligation. And then it is mentioned that fifth thing is our obligations to living entities in general. You know, there can be ants, there can be dogs, there can be cat, there can be birds. You know, some people have this culture that every day they go and feed the birds. Some people also have the culture that they put few grain for the ants before starting their meals. So like this. So some duties we do to living entities general. Some people are very much inclined to serving cows, because cow is one of the mothers. So like this. So this whole, to live in harmony with the universe, we must fulfill obligations as per our capacity to these 5 categories. Now, if you understand this concept, then you will be able to understand 10th to 16th verse, which basically in a sense is telling that we all have some sacrifices to perform, and sacrifice means prescribed duties, and prescribed duties means which help us to fulfill the obligations. And that concept is explained by some examples in text 10 to 16. But the main thing Lord Krishna is telling Arjun, you cannot escape your prescribed duty and become a sadhu. The very fact that you have taken birth here, you just can't go and live in the forest. You have to do your prescribed duty, because first of all, you can't go there because you are idle mind, devil's workshop. Your mind is not so pure. And even if you say your mind is pure, but you have some obligations towards society, you have to fulfill that. In 10th verse, Krishna starts talking about obligations to devatas. Sah yagya prajap sishwa puro vacha prajapati. You can read that in Bhagavad Gita. And in 16th verse, if you notice, 15th and 16th, he says, those who do not perform sacrifice, or in simple words, prescribed duties, as they have obligations to people around them, they are living a life of sin. They are living a life of sin. They are supposed to fulfill those obligations. So you just can't escape that saying, oh, these obligations have a lot of anxieties, I can't. No, that's a different thing, that we may need to learn how to fulfill those obligations in a stress-free way, in an anxiety-free way, how to deal with the complexities of relation. We may need to do a relationship course for that, but you can't escape just because it has anxiety. You may better learn how to do it nicely. Therefore, if you see, chapter 3 is called Karma Yoga, because it is helping you to stick to your karma. Karma means prescribed duty. You just can't escape your prescribed duty just because you're finding it stressful, uncomfortable, inconvenience, etc. And then you are saying, okay, I want to be spiritual, and in the name of spiritual, you escape things. Like I give you another example of escaping. Some sections of society, last several decades, their understanding of spirituality was taking drugs. Because when they take drugs, they just forget the whole world and they feel they are in ecstasy, they are happiness. But actually, those drugs are not happiness. That is not happiness. That is just an anesthesia where they forget what reality is. But Bhagavad Gita teaches us to deal with the reality in a very real way, not escaping it. So till now, first two verses, Arjuna's questions that how he's confused, how to balance spirituality with something which appears so mundane. And Arjun wanted to escape everything. Next 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 6 verses. They teach us better not escape because idle mind is devil's workshop. Ninth verse says, learn the art of connecting every work to spirituality. Every smallest work. So your whole existence becomes spiritual. We will learn that gradually, but right now this concept is introduced to us. And then text number 10 to 16th mentions that anyway you can't escape work because you're obliged to the society. And if you escape work, do not fulfill your obligations, that's sinful. In simple words, just like you do not pay the tax to the government, you are under risk. So similarly, in the cosmic government, now in this world, some people may not pay the tax and may still escape the punishment for different reasons, whatever may be the reason. But for cosmic manifestation, since the devatas, when we are obliged to them, we have some obligations to human beings in general. We have some obligations to living entities in general. When they are not fulfilled, we do incur sin and we can't escape that punishment. And lack of this knowledge, therefore people have suffering in this world. Now, let's go further. Now, after 16th, because 10 to 16 was talking about obligations. Now, Arjun may say this question that no, I do not have any obligations to anyone because I do not have any material desires. See, you develop obligations when you have desires. Like suppose somebody who has a very minimal income is much below poverty line. So government will say, oh, what tax? You don't need to pay any tax because you're hardly earning anything. But the moment a person starts earning, this means he has desires. Then he needs to pay a heavy tax. The more the desires, the more the heavy tax. But somebody who is no income, nothing, he's just getting some food by begging from here and there, and that's all. His life is going. He doesn't need to pay any tax. So Arjun is telling, I am spiritually so advanced that I do not have material desires. I can live in the forest. I will have nothing to do with this world. So why obligations? So then Krishna brings another point. In text 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, till 25th. From 17 to 25th, Krishna says that, okay, fine, you have no obligations. You are not fearful of sin also. But as a duty, you must fulfill your prescribed duties because you are a leader of society. If you give up everything and escape, then what will happen? The whole world will follow your example. So just to set a good example, suppose in a school, a teacher is always telling, everybody should come on time. So then teacher will also have to come on time to set an example. So unless there is an example, people are not going to follow. So Krishna is telling Arjun, okay, you are very pure. You do not have any obligations. You can live in the forest. Fine. Your idle mind, you don't have idle mind. You have a very pure mind. So then Lord Krishna, when he says that, or when Arjun says that, Krishna says, okay, just to set an example, you should stick to your duties in this world. Then how to act as an ideal king, how to act as an ideal husband, how to fight this war, because now as a duty you have to fight this war. So since as a duty you have to fight this war, you stick to this war. Do not just run away saying, oh, this is so uncomfortable for me, this is so inconvenient for me. Or do not say, oh, no, I do not need to engage in this. Because the moment you will leave, you may not need to engage, you may be pure enough, but seeing you, many others will leave who are not pure enough. So you are under observation. All your followers are seeing you. Set a good example and do your duties. So 17th till 21st. And Krishna personally gives his own example. He says, I also do my duties. And all those who know Lord Krishna's stories, when Lord Krishna was in Dwarka, he was living as an ideal householder person. He used to do all his duties very carefully, how respecting the king, how taking care of his family members, how getting his children married, etc., etc. Like this. So actually, this whole setting an example is the theme. And then 26th till 35th, I would say 26th till 29th, Lord Krishna tells Arjun that while doing your duties for the sake of an example setting, how you should deal with those people who are not so mature. I give you an example. Let's say um, a small child is building a castle on a small house using the sand on the side of the sea, on the sea beach. So when he is doing that, the parents are telling, oh, very nice, very nice, this is so beautiful. They are encouraging, no? They are not telling the child, oh, foolish, this is stupid, this is useless, what's the point of doing this, wasting time. For a child, that play is very important and he needs encouragement. So Lord Krishna is telling, you might be detached, you might be at a high spiritual platform. People who are not so high, you encourage them. Another example is given. I give more practical, contemporary example. You see, which applies to everyone's life. You see, marriage. Now it is mentioned those who are renounced, those who are sannyasis, they may not go for marriage. But most people in society will need marriage, because marriage helps them to get a social, family, emotional stability, or many, many ways it can be helpful for many people. Now, if for those who are saying, okay, why engage in marriage? But they do not make it a rule for the whole society. See, I'm talking about Vedic culture. I'm not talking about the current society where people may avoid marriage for different reasons. But I am saying in Vedic culture, where where there was much more stability of marriages. So, but marriage was considered as, by some people, as a sign of attachment. But those who are mature spiritualists, they would not reject marriage by saying it is a sign of attachment. They would use marriage as something which helps a person to stabilize his social, his family, his emotional level, so that he can perform his spiritual duties nicely. So why I'm referring to this now, if Arjun says, I do not need married life, I can live like a sadhu. He says, that's fine, but seeing you, everybody will start giving up married life and then they will start engaging in very immoral activities. That is not good. So do not start making banners, oh, marriage is bogus, marriage is bogus, marriage is bogus. No, for them, for those whom it helps, it helps. So this is one example. It can have much more detailed discussion. But what I am saying is, somebody who is detached from a concept, somebody who is attached to that concept. So a detached person should encourage the person, okay, that's fine. If you need this, go ahead with this. Because everybody can be highest spiritual achiever, whether somebody is a renounced and a sadhu or whether somebody is a married person. Because there are ways and means for both sections of society. Like this. So in 25th, 29th, Lord Krishna says how to deal with somebody who is attached to a certain thing by encouraging them, by engaging them, by allowing them at that level and not disrupting their faith in what they are doing. Then, so like this. So again, Krishna is telling you have to do your karma. And if you read 30th verse, Lord Krishna says, even if nothing enters your head, I am saying, do it. If you love me, do it. So he's encouraging at the platform of love. If Krishna says, you love me as a friend, as a brother, as a family man, as God, I am saying this is good for you, do it. Stick to your karma yoga. So this is beautiful, because there are some people who, with improper understanding of Bhagavad Gita, says, oh, we are not going to read Bhagavad Gita, then we become sadhus. But Bhagavad Gita doesn't encourage to become sadhu. It says you do your duties, the duties which are meant for you. It doesn't encourage you to become Vairagi. And then 31 to 35, he again emphasizes, stick to your duty, stick to your duty. Do not imitate someone else's duty. Now here I want to focus on imitation. If you read 34th and 35th verse, Lord Krishna is saying, do not imitate someone else's duty. Even if your own duty is full of fault. What does that mean? my on duty full of fault. In the sense, like suppose right now I'm teaching. Somebody else could also be teaching. He could be a better teacher than me. So seeing somebody doing better than me, I may go into depression and say, oh no, I want to give up teaching because I'm not able to excel as good as the other person is. But here the point is, you may see it as a fault, but the main thing is your core ability is to teach. So do not give it up just because there is somebody better in that field than you. So that is the meaning of fault. You may see fault in yourself that I'm not as good as other person, but do not give it up because this is your prescribed duty as per your psychophysical nature, as per your mindset, and because this is your duty, this will help you to attain higher spiritual paths, because this will give you stability in this world. And second meaning of fault is everyone's duty has some inconvenience. Just because you face some inconvenience in your duty, do not give it up, because this duty, because it is based on your psychological nature, on your physical nature, whatever nature you have as per your body, this will help you to attain perfection. It's the duty you are doing. You are engaging your proclivities in the service of society. So 34th and 35th says, do not give up your duties, even if it is faultily done. Even if you can do somebody else's duty perfectly, do not give it up. Like this. And after saying that, Arjun raises a question. Because see, Lord Krishna gave many reasons why you should stick to your duty. He says, idle mind is devil's workshop. Then he said, you have obligations. Then he said, if you give it up, you will get sinful reactions. Then he says, as a duty to set a good example, you should do it. Then he says, out of love for me, you should do it. Then he says, never imitate others' duties. You do your own duty. After hearing a whole lecture on why I should stick to my prescribed duties, when somebody is very disturbed, he still wants to give it up. He says, no, I don't want to continue. I want to give up. I want to give up. I want to give up. So then Arjun raises this question in 36. He says, Athakena prayuktoyam papam charati purusha. What is the force which impels me to deviate from my prescribed duties again and again? In spite of knowing that I should stick to my prescribed duties, then Lord Krishna says, there are two forces sitting within us, lust and anger. Now, for most people, lust may refer to sensual enjoyment, sexual enjoyment. But in Bhagavad Gita's definition, when the word used kama in 37th verse, kama esha, krodha esha. So kama refers to lust, but kama means desire to deviate from your prescribed duty and act whimsically. Whatever is proper duty, मेरा कर्तव्य क्या है, उससे deviate होना, that is called as lust. So then from last section, from 37th to 43, how to handle this lust or this energy within us, which and again impels us to act in a sinful way, impels us to act in a distracted way, demotivates us, defocuses us, or takes our focus to some wrong path, anything like that. So then in essence, Lord Krishna tells three things how to handle this lust within us, that force which impels us to act in immoral, improper ways. A simple thing, like a student has to study for exam. And he knows, if I study for these 2 hours, tomorrow I'll pass in the exam. But then he goes to sleep for, instead of 8 hours, he sleeps 14 hours. That is lust. If somebody has to do some family duties and somebody goes and plays cricket for 3 hours, that is lust. Or somebody has a cricket competition and he has to practice cricket and he lands up watching 5 hours a movie and doesn't practice nicely, that is lust. So I'm not saying watching a movie is lust, or cricket is lust, or not studying for exam, or sleeping is lust. Point is, when you have to do something and you do something else, this means your mind is distracted by a force called as mode of passion, a rajogun, which distracts you, and that is called lust. So Lord Krishna says lust is seated in our mind, our senses, and our intelligence. Three places lust is this, and this energy is there in intelligence, in mind, and in senses. Now, intelligence and mind are two different things. Mind is a entity within us which creates feelings, thoughts. Intelligence is an entity within us which creates discrimination. What is right, what is wrong. And senses, we have eyes, touch, ears, nose, tongue, like this. So eyes, nose, tongue, ears, and touch. 5. Eyes, they are distracted by seeing something. Like suppose you were studying and suddenly on the Facebook or Instagram you saw a video and you'll end up watching that for another 20 minutes and you realize, oh no, I wasted 20 minutes. Eyes got distracted. Ears, somebody called us, hey, come, let's go, let's enjoy the food, and you were studying. Ears got distracted. So like this, these 5 senses distract you. Or suddenly tongue developed a desire, let me eat something, and you eat so much, you go to sleep. You're not able to do your duties. These are simple examples. So these senses have a disease called as lust. Mind has a disease called as lust. Intelligence has a disease called as lust. How to handle? Krishna says, handle your intelligence and handle your senses. Mind will automatically get handled. How? If you read 41st verse, Tasmat Tvam Indriyani Adav. Lord Krishna says, start handling the senses. How? By engaging the sense, by avoiding the things which distract you, by keeping that away from your reach. You know, like some people who are addicted to phones, smartphone addiction, internet addiction. They give their phone in somebody's hand. Do not give me for next 8 hours. So they keep it away, out of reach, out of sight, out of mind. So senses ko sense object se dur rakho. For somebody who has diabetes, he gives instructions to his family. Not even a single piece of sweet should be visible around me. Otherwise, I'll end up breaking my rules and I suffer. Keep sense objects away. So 41st says, see what is distracting you, take yourself away from that. And then 43rd verse says, strengthen your intelligence by hearing proper discourses, by hearing proper talks. Strengthen intelligence, which tells you the right knowledge. So when you keep hearing the right thing from the intelligence, automatically you focus on the right thing. Because we do not hear the right kind of knowledge, we become weak. Our mind becomes weak. So like this, Lord Krishna says, how to handle lust. So 43rd, he says, he uses the word buddhav. So you strengthen your intelligence. And because we have to strengthen intelligence, intelligence becomes strong by knowledge. Therefore, chapter 4 is called transcendental knowledge or Gyan Yoga. So chapter 3 connects to chapter 4 like this. And this brings us to the end of chapter 3.